Hi everyone, today let us see about sterilization. Okay, the sterilization is commonly practiced in bioprocess industry, that is to sterilize the media, sterilize the fermenter, sterilize all type of vessels that is being used in a bioprocess industry. First, let us see about a small introduction of sterilization. Why we need this sterilization? Okay, so why sterilization is needed? What's the purpose of sterilization? Why the sterilization is very important? That we can see here. Here, the medium would have to support the growth of both the protection organism and the contaminant. If contaminant is present, so the protection medium, that is the medium which you are going to use for the production or fermentation process, so it should support the growth of contaminant also. So it should be avoided. The contaminant should be avoided. If you want the productivity, the contaminant should be avoided. So it will, if the contaminant is present, it will result in a loss of productivity. So to avoid the loss of productivity, the medium has to be sterilized. Then, if this fermentation is a continuous one, that is in fermentation industries, you can see the fermentation process will be a continuous one. There won't be any breakage. So if the fermentation is a continuous one, then the contaminant may outgrow the protection organism. So it can displace it from the fermentation. That is the microorganism which is needed for the particular fermenting product will be removed by the contaminant. So this has to be avoided. How it can be avoided? By using sterilization method. Okay. Then the foreign organism, it may contaminate the final product. That is the product which you want from the particular fermentation process. It can be contaminated. So that contamination also has to be avoided with the help of sterilization. For example, in single cell protein, where the cells get separated from the broth, constitute the product. Okay. So this contaminant, that the presence of contaminant should not produce any damage to the final product. To avoid any damage to final product, we should avoid the contamination by using sterilization methods. The contaminant may produce compounds which make subsequent extraction of the final product difficult. That is, there should not be any very difficult steps during the final product extraction process, because it may make your fermentation a difficult one. So to avoid that conditions also, this contaminant has to be sterilized and avoided. The contaminant may degrade the desired product, the product required, needed product. This is common in bacterial contamination of antibiotic fermentations. During antibiotic fermentations, the industries are mainly facing this contamination problems. So avoid all this contamination problem. They are using the sterilization method effectively. Where the contaminant would have to be resistant to the normal inhibitory effects of the antibiotic, and degradation of the antibiotic. And the degradation of the antibiotic is a common resistance mechanism. Okay, so for example, degradation of beta-lactam antibiotics. Beta-lactam antibiotics by beta-lactamase producing bacteria. Okay, so a care has to be taken in these accounts. And contamination of bacterial fermentation with phage would result in the lysis of the culture. Phage means the virus that attacks the bacteria. It would lead to a lysis of bacteria, and it will cause many problems in the final product production. There won't be any final product production. So it also has to be taken into account. How to avoid this contamination? You can use a pure inoculum to start the fermentation, and also the medium has to be sterilized effectively. Then the fermenter vessels has to be sterilized. Sterilizing all the materials to be added to the fermentation during the process. That is, it may be media, or it may be carbon source, nitrogen source. If you are using in as a separate medium, that has to be sterilized. Inhibitors, precursors, stimulators, that has to be sterilized, and water has to be sterilized, air has to be sterilized, and every vessel has to be sterilized. And the probes, maybe a temperature probe or pH probe, or anything, any probes that you are using in a fermenter, that has to be sterilized, and sampling vessel has to be sterilized, sampling valves has to be sterilized, all the valves used in a fermenter has to be sterilized. So everything has to be sterilized, and you should use that. And also the inoculum, that is first start material inoculum you are going to use, should be very careful, because you cannot sterilize the inoculum. It will lead to the death of needed microbe. So a very pure inoculum has to be obtained. For that, many cereal cultures, then many cultures. After many cultures, you'll be getting a pure culture that has to be used in a fermenter if you want to get the pure product. So, following all these aseptic conditions during fermentations, you can avoid most of the problems, most of the contaminations, and also you can get a good final product. And here you can see about medium sterilization. The common practices used in medium sterilization are that is filtration, radiation, ultrasonic treatment, chemical treatment, or heat sterilization. That is filtration for medium sterilization you can use. It can avoid most of the larger particles, and also unwanted particles can be removed using filtration. Radiation process also, the unwanted materials can be removed. On ultrasonic treatment, chemical treatment, heat treatment, these are the methods can be used in medium sterilization. And also for practical reasons, steam is used almost universally for the sterilization of fermentation media, because it is an effective one. Steam almost it will be in above 100 degrees Celsius, so it can effectively kill most of the microorganism. The major exception in the use of filtration for the sterilization of media for animal cell culture, that is animal cell culture media is very what can I say, it's a very sensitive media. So such media are completely soluble in the sterilization and contain heat labile components. So heat, due to the presence of heat labile components, the use of heat in the case of animal cell culture media is somewhat difficult. But also some other methods can be used. That is a filtration method. Other methods can be, the choice can be made to make the animal cell culture medium also a sterile one, because it's a very sensitive area, animal cell culture. Very good products has to be produced without any contamination. So all these medium sterilization methods has to be followed to effectively to avoid all the contamination process. Hope you all understand the video. If you like the video, kindly like, comment, share and subscribe the video. Thank you.